Yes, welcome to Hospital Radio Lynn and the new programmes that kick off at 6 o'clock. And, well, it's me, John, and it's Anna.
Hello.
And we've got something completely different for you. Well, we think it's different. It's not different to normal radio, but it's certainly different to hospital radio. We're going to give you a thorough exploration of West Norfolk.
Yeah, that sounds terrible.
It does. It's the A to Z of villages in and around West Norfolk, and we're going to have an in-depth look at them and to tell you things that hopefully you didn't even know about. And being an alphabetical list, we're going to start off with the letter A. And this week it's going to be...
Anmer.
Anmer. That's right. Right, well, as I said, we're going to kick off with the letter A, and we're going to start with Anmer. Now, the word Anmer actually means duck pool, but this is no pond for our floating featured friends, our feathered friends. Anmer is a very quiet, sleepy village in West Norfolk, about 12 miles outside of King's Lynn. It nestles between Sherborne, Flitcham and Bircham. Anmer is approximately 5.68 kilometres square, and according to the 2001 census, has approximately 63 residents in 29 households.
Yep, that's not many actually, is it?
It's overcrowded, I think.
Absolutely.
Go on, fire away. You've got some more
I
information.
have, yeah.
About it.
It's actually situated on the Royal Sandringham estate. Anmer is linked to the Queen's Retreat in Sandringham House, by a 1.5 mile road, which is commonly called the Avenue. This stretch of road is well known locally for the beautiful lime trees, which stand almost on guard along most of the road. It's a beautiful spectacle of bright green colour in late spring and throughout the summer. As with all the royal villages in the area, Anmer is very pleasing on the eye. It consists mainly of Norfolk cottages, looking as attractive as those on the old-fashioned chocolate boxes. Can you remember those?
I can.
From years
Yes.
ago.
Oh, I can.
Picture-perfect cottage gardens with roses around the porches and the odd hen scratching on the grass here and there for the tastiest of pickings in worms.
Right, though a small and a village, we live only a couple of miles away from it, and we were taken aback at the sheer amount of its history that it possesses. It was first recorded in the Domesday Book in 1086, and according to the Norfolk Heritage Explorer website, it was a small settlement held by a free man named Ordgar, before the lands were given to Count Eustace, Earl of Boulogne, after the 1066 battle.
Yeah.
Remember it well.
Battle of Hastings. There is evidence of early occupation in the east of the village, where several Bronze Age barrows have been discovered. And apparently there is a field book, and in that it indicates that the barrows were on the common, and they were named as Burnt Hill, Ingo Hill, Rushmere Hill, and Thresh Isles. I've never heard of those, have you?
No. I haven't.
Axe heads, flakers, scrapers and blades from the Neolithic period, as well as Bronze Age and prehistoric flints, have been discovered in the area, most of them alongside Pedder's Way, which is of course the Roman road, which is 46 miles in length. I never actually realised it was that long.
Well, yes, and I thought it was longer than that. I thought it went from the north coast to London, but it doesn't.
No.
It cuts short.
Suffolk,
in
apparently.
Suffolk.
Yeah.
That's correct. Let's have another piece of music, shall we? Yes, that's Fantasia on Greensleeves, and that was Vaughan Williams' version. Now then, like I said a little while ago, we're talking about villages from West Norfolk, and I don't know about you, but I've lived in West Norfolk for 52 years, nearly 53, and Anna was going through some bits and pieces this afternoon, asking me questions, and to be honest with you, I thought I knew West Norfolk, but I certainly don't.
It was quite a surprise. It's a village that's just a couple of miles from us, and it's very small, isn't it, Anmer?
It is. It's only a spit and a throw from one end to t'other.
And when we were planning the shows, we thought we're going to have to cover at least another village for this programme, because there's not much to say about Anmer that it's in the Royal Estate. I was shocked when we started investigating.
That's right.
There was too much information, in fact.
Yes. A bit more about Anmer. Now, the heart of the village is Anmer Hall and its park, and obviously it recently featured heavily in the news in January 2013 when it was gifted to the Duke of Cambridge, Prince William. There is some contradicting information about its age. It is described by some as a Georgian property built in 1802, but Norfolk Heritage describe it as an 18th century house with its landscaped park laid out in 1793. It adds that further plantations were added in the 19th century. The creation of the park is said to have preserved earthworks of the deserted medieval village, which included 2 manor houses and several toffs surrounding the church. The road which leads to Anmer Hall was the medieval road to the village, but routes crossing the park were closed off in 1793 to protect the privacy of the owners. And also, just as a sidekick, I don't know whether you've got it in here, but I don't think you have, but the park was the first, I believe, the first place to actually house the Sandringham Flower Show.
I didn't know that.
I'm pretty sure, I'm 99% sure that Anmer Park was the very first place for the Sandringham Flower Show to take part.
Well, I'll have to have a look at that.
Yes, you will. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll have another piece of music, and this is not. It's folky and it's nice and it's a bit laid back. So I hope you're enjoying this little trip around West Norfolk. It's a beautiful evening. This is a sort of thing you want to do when you're sitting down and you've got a nice glass of cold beer or a nice glass of wine, and really you're just reading about or listening about the local places nearby where you live. That's Norfolk, isn't it? We're nearby where you live. So anyway, let's have a little bit more music, shall we? Why not, he says.
Hello, this is Nick Conrad from BBC Radio Norfolk, and I'm wishing all the patients at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital a very speedy recovery.
Yes, and thanks for that, Nick. Yes, Enya and Orinoco Flow.
Yeah.
A bit more about Anmer.
So, I mean, we are talking a lot about Anmer Hall, and that's basically looking at the information about Anmer. It seems that the hall and the park were the central part of the later village. So, I mean, the hall itself is a Grade 2 listed building, and of course you can't see it in its full splendour as it's set back from the road and there's lots of trees in the way. But the park does look very picturesque. There's a cattle field, and you wouldn't say it's a site of many medieval monuments, but it is. And it envelops the front of the hall and is a sure sign from the road that you are in the correct location. As the tower of the 13th century St Mary's Church is, which is situated next door to the hall. The village isn't actually unused to royal occupants, as the Duke and Duchess of Kent previously lived in the property between 1972 and 1990, and you know that, don't you? Because you used to deliver their newspaper.
I did, as a wee young whippersnapper who just left school. I used to help my father do in them days you had to do the village or the village surrounding villages paper rounds in a van.
In a van?
In a van, yes.
Oh, right, okay.
And we used to deliver the newspapers to the Duke and Duchess of Kent and the Queen Mother's racing manager, Sir Michael Oswald.
See, you have your moment in history.
I do.
Well, of course, following some modernisation and changes to its entrance, I think there's some planning applications at the moment that are going through. They're going to change the entrance to ensure there's adequate privacy. And it's going to be a new home to the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge and their new son, Prince George of Cambridge.
Yes.
Which will be lovely. The question I've always asked is, how the royal villages eventually found their way into the ownership of the royal family, and we've often been talked about Sherborne being one in a card game, which we have to try and establish if it is correct or not. But it seems that in 1303, Sir William de Calthorpe was made lord and patron, and then in 1705 the estate was obtained by James Coldham. And William White states in his History and Gazetteer and Directory of Norfolk that in 1836 the estate consisted of 1,300 acres, which is actually massive, isn't it? And was owned by Henry Coldham, Lord of the Manor and patron of the church. And he did live in the hall at the time. And what I found was quite shocking is at that time the population of the village was much greater. It was in fact 132 inhabitants, which is more than double its current occupants.
Oh, right. Now I wonder, because in Wisbeach Way there is a Coldham Estates.
Oh, right.
And I wonder if it's the same family.
We'll have to look.
Yes. Anyway, what we're going to do now is I'm not going to pronounce this song because I know what it's going to come out like. But if you ever have quiz contests and you give your team a name and you name it after this, then you'll know what I mean. But this is Sid Kipper. Now this is a good old Norfolk song.
This here is an anthem for Norfolk, written by my Uncle George. In praise of my county, I'm going.
Carrying on with Anmer, which is, as we've said, is 10 miles, well, 12 miles. It's between Kings Lynn and Hunstanton. If you are a local person, you'll know where it is. But on saying that, the number of people, when they ask where we live and we tell them, they say, where is that?
Yeah.
And you'll be surprised. There is a lot of people that probably would turn around and say they aren't sure where Anmer is. And Anmer is on the road. If you go between a quick Google map reference, here we go. You go down the Hillington Road, which is the A148, you go through Hillington and you turn left to go into Flitcham. And as you go through Flitcham, you carry on that road and you go up a very, 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 very steep hill. It's a very, 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 very steep hill, and it gets steeper when it's in the winter because it gets very, very, very icy.
You sound like Jethro at the moment.
And you head between Flitcham and Bircham, and then you'll come across a set of crossroads, and you turn left. Now that takes you straight into Anmer.
It does.
It does.
Yes.
There's a quicker way, but I'm not going to tell them, because if I told you that way, then everybody would go down that way.
Absolutely, yes. Yes.
Right, but today, where did we get to? Oh, yes, the estate remained in his hands. That's Coldham's hands until it was bought in 1862 for the Prince of Wales as a wedding present from Queen Victoria and Prince Albert's son, Albert Edward, who later became King Edward the Seventh. That's right, I was just trying to work it out. And today the village, like many others in Norfolk, has no post office, no local shop or a pub. However, drum roll, it does have a social club with a thriving bowls team. Now the club originally opened as a means of local entertainment for the workers on the Royal Sandringham estate. And there are 5 other clubs. Is there 5?
Yeah.
Yes.
Babingley,
Wolverton,
West Newton,
Anmer. That's it.
No, there was 5.
Yeah, there was 5. No, there's 4 other clubs that belong to the estate that is are scattered around. Now, the village sign was originally presented to Queen Elizabeth II in 1957 by the Boy Scouts Association, and it was erected in the village in 1958, but has been repaired and replaced several times since. The current sign was unveiled by His Royal Highness the Duke of Edinburgh in 2007, and it's made of oak, which was harvested from the estate and is double-sided, carrying the carving of a Boy Scout on one side wearing a badge of the Norfolk coat of arms, and the other side carries a carving of a Roman soldier. Both carvings are topical for the area. The Scout because the estate held jamborees in the 1950s, and the soldier because of the Roman connections within the area of Anmer. Not far from Anmer, in Anmer Mink, where it is said that Boadicea, or Boudica, fought against the Romans. The sign bears the Latin motto Este Parat, which translated means be prepared, the words of the scouting motto. And I'm very a proud ex-scouter who also wore the Norfolk coat of arms.
Oh, did you?
On my shirt. Yes,
Oh.
I did.
Oh.
Every scout and cub that was in a troop or pack, depending on whether you were a cub or a scout, in Norfolk, wore the coat of arms.
Oh, right, okay. I was a girl. I was a brownie. I wasn't a girl guide. They threw me out the brownies.
And if anybody's wondering, do you know what the Norfolk coat of arms are?
No.
It's a shield, and it's the Norfolk coat of arms is what's on the Norfolk County Council's heading
yes.
paper.
Yes, I've seen
Yes?
that. Yes.
There you go.
Very good.
Right, now then, as promised before, the honey cart song. And the honey cart was named for a special reason, because,
It's quite the opposite, I would have thought. But
yes, to be quite honest with you, it stunk. There we go.
Even got rid of me.
Every day is a school day. Now then, because you learn something.
We've learned lots today,
I'm a
though.
great believer in it, but I've just learned something else. Because have you ever seen names of houses or names of roads or streets or little cul-de-sacs called pitals?
no.
You haven't. Well, there's one in Thornham,
Right.
and I always thought to myself, what is a pital?
What is it?
It's a paddock.
Oh,
So
really?
basically, that little estate in Thornham, I can't recall what it's actually called. It's Pital something or something Pital.
Yeah.
Was an old paddock,
Oh,
which
right.
makes sense, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it does now. Yeah.
Yes. So yes, a Pital is a paddock.
Okay.
So that's something that's answered my question, which was bugging me.
Your brain has increased by a single cell.
It'd have a job.
I'm not saying anything.
Right, carry on, Macduff.
Okay, St Mary's Church is tucked away within the Anmer Hall Park. The main part of the building was built in the 14th century. It's a very strange church because the tower was erected in the 15th and then the chancel was later added in the 19th. There is apparently some beautiful stained glass windows which brighten up this little church perfectly, but I've never actually been, which is really quite a sin considering it's only a couple of miles down the road, and I will go and have a look now. There's 6 funeral hatchments which can be found on the walls for the Calthorpe family. Do you know what a hatchment is?
I would think it's a stone,
It's
like a memorial
It's
stone.
their coat of arms.
Oh, right.
It's their coat of arms. So there's 6 of those, presumably for all the different members of the family, and some internal finishings, including an altar cloth, which were given by Queen Mary, who is said to have took a personal interest in the church. After her death in 1953, and that was of course George V's wife, Queen Mary, the interior of the church fell into disrepair and it has thankfully since been restored in 1986. Now what amused me is that there were previously paintings in there that formerly hung in the chancel, and they were taken back to Sandringham House because Queen Mary took them out of Sandringham House.
Probably didn't like them.
You can imagine sneaking them out in the dark of night with a little cloth over them.
Oh, you
can't
don't
you?
like them? Put them in the church.
Yeah, absolutely. The church is still in use, so you can actually go and have a look at it. There are 2 services held there each month, and the odd funeral and the odd wedding, but as there's not many residents, not so many of those.
And if anybody's wondering about Queen Mary, there is a famous, very, very famous photograph of the 3 queens.
I didn't know that.
Yes, it's a very, very famous photograph because it's Queen Mary, the Queen Mother, and Queen Elizabeth.
Oh, right, okay.
And
Well,
it was the funeral of King George V's funeral. Yes, well, it is a very, very famous photograph because Queen Mary was quite a stern-looking lady. She was very stern, but apparently she was very nice, but she looked very stern. But there was her, the Queen Mother, the late Queen Mother, and obviously the Queen Elizabeth II. So there you go, another little piece of history.
Yes.
Good old Terry Wogan.
Yeah, well, that wasn't Terry Wogan, sadly. It was the instrumental version, as he would in fact say. Floral Dance, Brighouse and Rastrick Brass Band, apparently.
That's right.
Go on then.
Right. Well, a quick summary of Anmer, because we're coming to an end. And although Anmer is a very, very small village, which you could quite easily miss if you blinked whilst driving through it, there is a rich history hidden away and an open church which allows you to experience some of this. So if you are driving out that way and you do go up Flitchin Hill towards Bircham and you turn left opposite Anmer Mink, you'll drive into the village of Anmer, and Anmer Park along the church is on the left hand side. Can't miss it. And if you carry on, we will tell you this, if you carry on driving, you'll end up at the Royal Stud.
Yeah.
Another story.
Yeah, and just to recap, the word Anmer actually means a duck pool. And apparently the duck pool is still there.
Is it really?
It's outside the church.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
So situated on the Royal Sandringham estate, in the Domesday Book in 1086, so it's a very old village, and there's plenty of medieval findings and Bronze Age findings, and it's right next door to Pedder's Walk.
Good. Right, that's Explore West Norfolk with John and Anna. More next week, because we shall be talking about Borsey. So if you are still in hospital, which sincerely hope you're not, but if you are, do join us at 6 o'clock for a exploration of Borsey. In the meantime, it's good night from her.
And good night for him.
Good night.
This here's the dumpling song, and for those of you what don't come from Norfolk, a dumpling is not a small dump.